Carmine was 11 years older than me. He had already had the gun license when I met him. He was 29 when I met him, and I was 18. And I just remember going into a store with him in Brooklyn, in Bensonhurst, when he purchased the Walther PPK. And he had to have not only his gun license with him, but he had to have other papers with him. He had to fill out papers. I mean, it was a thorough thing back then. Now, today, I don't know what it's like. I mean, there's people that have guns everywhere.
It's harder to get guns now than 30 years ago.
Well, then why are there so many guns out on the street? Why are there so many killings? I mean,
most of those guns are illegal. That's the thing.
There was a shooting in my old projects last week. Someone I know got murdered.
A lot of
why are the guns still on the street?
They're illegal guns.
That's it.
You got to stop the illegal guns.
Exactly.
Somehow.
Which is, see, if you would stop the gun selling on the street or the guns that are coming from the South, because like I said, anywhere in the South, you could go to a freaking Walmart and buy a gun. All you need is a license. I think if you cross over to Pennsylvania, you can go in and buy a gun. Because if I remember correctly, when I go to visit my sister and I go to Walmart, they're selling, bullets and whatnot.
It's true. I mean, in Walmart, you could buy just about anything. I really mean it,
They sell guns, but you still need a permit to buy them.
In Pennsylvania?
I'm pretty sure you need a background check now anywhere in the country, don't you, Mark?
I believe so. Well, at least in the East Coast you do.
Well,
I
said, when Carmine and I walked into that place in Florida, all he needed to show was his driver's license and nothing else, and boom, he got a gun.
Well, you said
he had the money and had the gun.
Didn't you say he had the license already, or that was when you moved back to New York?
No, this is before we were in Florida. He had the license.
Well,
he still had the license, but the guy never asked him for it. The guy just said, all you need is a driver's license.
Well, that's because
and I'll sell you the gun.
Down in Florida, they're pretty lax about these things. I mean, that's one of the states that has very liberal, gun control laws.
Mm-hmm.
Florida themselves just makes their own. They make their own rules up as it goes. I've noticed that when I lived there. They just do whatever they want, and it's just sad. It really is.
Well, as I was saying to Mark before, probably the states that have the tightest gun controls is where there's the most murders. States that have loose.
You think Chicago has the tightest gun control laws?
I think Chicago probably has. Illinois is like.
Well, but the thing is, most of those guns that are being used are illegal.
Are illegal, yeah. So it's not.
I mean, everything that we see on TV, all these shootings in the movie theaters we all know that those are illegal guns. I mean,
well, no,
that's a given.
Some of them were legal. Some of these guns were legal.
Actually, the one in Aurora. Okay, and then that first movie theater shooting, his weapons were all legal.
That's insane.
Listen, the guy went through a background check. There was no record on him. Either you got to find a way of. First, you got to find a way of keeping illegal guns off the streets. Because that's where most of the murders are done with all these, black on black crimes. Got to get those off the streets, and then you got to find out a way of determining people's eligibility to get a gun. At what point do you consider somebody, not sound of mind to carry a gun?
Well, one of the things that they said on this Diane Rehm show was that. A very small percentage of gun deaths are related to murders or robberies or anything. The majority of the guns that are used are used for suicide. People that have guns that just blow their brains out. You know, that was one of the statistics that they threw out today.
Well, listen, how are you going to stop that?
Well,
the thing is, what's realistic? Well, we have so much more gun deaths than anywhere. I think I read that one day. Remember, Mark?
yeah. They had a guy from England, on the radio show, on the phone actually, and he said it's very rare that they have any gun violence in Great Britain, and here you have so many on any given day.
Because it's too free here. I mean, you can go anywhere, even if you don't have a license and you have the right connections and you know where to go. And also, if you have the money, you go and purchase a gun. Boom, you have a gun.
Well, that's illegal. What are you going to,
I know that. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that, in my opinion, I think it's more illegal. I think the guns out there are more illegal than the guns legal. Because they're just buying them on the street.
There are definitely more illegal guns out there. That's the whole point.
And
I'm blaming social media for all this. And even the news, they put on so much stuff, and TV also, all these shows, movies and reality shows, they're showing too much. When I was growing up, I don't ever remember watching the news as it is today. Every time I watch the news, it's another killing or another manhunt for someone. It just doesn't stop. And the next generation, it's going to be so much worse. People are just taking justice in their own hands and just killing, just taking it for themselves and saying, all right, I'm just going to shoot you because, I don't like you.
In a 30-minute news show, the first 12 minutes, for the most part, before the first commercial, the first 12 minutes are all about murders and crime.
Mm-hmm.
And crime. And then they take a commercial break and they come back and they give you the weather and the sports. Okay, and maybe the end story is another murder or something like that. That's what you have.
Sorry.
Right. In the past week or two, that I'll watch Channel 7. They come on at 4 o'clock. They come on with the news. When they start their newscast, it's breaking news, and of course it's some shooting here or there. In the mornings, I watch the early Today Show before the Today Show starts, and right away it's a killing here, a shooting here. It has to end. It really does.
Yeah, but how does it end?
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't remember. I really don't remember. There were so many crazy people out there growing up. This last thing that happened in Virginia, that was sick.
Yeah.
While they were on broadcasting the news, while they were doing the interview.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
now, I didn't see the video, and someone told me not to.
Well, he had a grievance with the network, so
Well, he was fired a year ago. Oh no, 2 years ago he was fired.
But still, for a lot of people, especially the mentally deranged, and he was mentally deranged.
Mm-hmm.
It took a couple of years for it to fester, and everything else that happened because he mentioned all these other gun shootings, you know, and he claimed that the network was racist and that they were prejudiced against him because not only was he a black man, but he was a gay black man. Uh, and none of this ever came out when they reported it originally, I mean, this is just part of his complaints that was in his manifesto that he wrote up, you know. He just wanted to have the biggest possible shock value and embarrass the network. And basically he did that. And it didn't matter to him, that he had to kill two people. And like they reported, he had so many rounds of ammunition on him when they eventually caught up with him and he killed himself. His suicide was not part of the deal.
Okay.
He wanted to inflict more harm. He wanted to go on a killing spree.
They said that they really didn't know what his motive was because when they found the car, when they went inside the car, besides finding all the guns and the ammo, they found a wig and a shawl and 3 license plates, I think.
Yeah, that definitely. Yeah, I guess he's debating which way to go. Okay, I'm going to give you some statistics. Interesting. The last year they've actually got accurate figures on gun violence. Is in this article anyway is 2011. There were 11,101 homicides, 19,766 suicides, 851 accidental discharges, and 222 undetermined.
And of the accidental discharges, you don't know how many of them were actually suicide, and they just didn't report it as a suicide.
Well, there weren't that many accidental anyway. Total
Why?
of 30,
how can you say
851.
That? Well, but still, like
compared to the other numbers.
That's not what I'm talking about.
What?
I'm talking about the fact that many of them, okay,
there were 222 undetermined. That's not a lot.
Where do you get 321?
222 undetermined.
That's undetermined. That doesn't count the accidental discharge.
Accidental is 851.
Yeah, I know what I'm saying, Felix.
I know, but the suicide was 19,766. You add another 1,000, it's nothing.
But you're not listening.
Go ahead.
A lot of times, you get cops who are despondent, okay, who are burned out or for whatever reason, and it's reported that they were killed cleaning their gun, okay? The first thing a cop learns when you're cleaning your gun is to take the clip out and then eject the bullet that's in the chamber, okay? You don't clean a gun knowing that there's loaded ammunition in there. So what I'm saying is, you don't know how many of the 851 were actually suicides, but they were written up in a different way to spare the family embarrassment, so they can collect insurance,
Well, follow what I'm saying, Mark, please. There were 31,940 people killed by guns. A minute 851 is a very small percentage of them were actually accidental discharge. Just a very small percentage. And the year before that was 31,328, 31,707. And then in 2004 there was 29,569. So it looked like we're hovering around almost 30,000, but 30,000 a year.
Well, I mean, let's face it, Felix. When somebody leaves a note, it's a suicide. When somebody has a gun in their hand and a bullet hole in their head,
Mark, I'm not disagreeing with you, but we're talking about a very small number.
Doesn't make a difference how small it is. And I'm not saying it's changing anything. All I'm saying is the accidental discharges, for whatever reason, sparing the family embarrassment to admit that it was a suicide, enabling the family to collect a life insurance policy.